Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in to our track on how selling directly can transform your B2B e-commerce growth. I'm Tim Willis, Head of e-commerce Southwest at PushOn, and I'm joined by the seasoned pro that is Steve Beckett. Steve, introduce yourself and tell the viewers a bit more about PushOn.
Hello everybody, I'm Steve. I'm one of the directors here at PushOn. We're an e-commerce agency, more specifically a certified Adobe partner, and we specialise in Magento commerce. We're headquartered in Manchester. We also have offices in Bristol and Edinburgh, and we basically help companies grow online. This can take the form of audience research. It could be website specification or website build, systems integrations, and also delivering sales growth through digital marketing channels.
Lovely. So there's no doubt about it that recent e-commerce growth has been fueled by manufacturers selling directly to their customers. This has been in part through choice, but more recently through necessity, as the last 12 months saw trade companies lose customers overnight through closures due to the pandemic. We believe this has accelerated e-commerce by 5 years in 12 months. If you're interested in adopting a more direct-to-consumer sales approach and protecting your business, this is the session for you. From choosing the right steps to take, whether it be customers, technology, or measuring performance, we'll take you through what's involved with adding a D2C layer to your business and arm you with the tools to go away and form that winning strategy. So Steve, let's get started. How do you think changes in consumer behavior can present an opportunity for B2B businesses?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So what we're seeing is B2B businesses are looking for new opportunities at the moment to sell products and services. And it's probably more so than ever due to the events of the last 12 months, which we feel has accelerated online shopping quite considerably. So many businesses are now considering that more customer-focused approach to protect themselves as a result, and finding those new routes to market where they've struggled over the last 12 months. So for companies looking at a more direct-to-consumer approach, the numbers are certainly suggesting there is an opportunity there. So some research, according to Forrester, shown that over 81% of customers are planning to buy directly from brands and manufacturers in the very near future. And over 84% of companies have actually witnessed an increase in direct sales over the last 18 months, which is arguably, again, being fueled by the lockdown and the growing online sales. Also, and interestingly, eBay have also noticed that shoppers are actually placing more and more importance to buying from businesses that give back to society, that are more sustainable, and have more of a brand story. So we've got a bit more on that a bit later anyway. So we need to be a bit more mindful as well that today's customers are more sophisticated than ever before. And this means that the purchase journeys are more complex and more difficult to predict. So selling to the customer directly than arguably traditionally through your distributors or stockists is a different animal, but potentially very, very rewarding. That's why customers are needing to be more engaged and have those more personalized shopping experiences, and why that is so important. So moving on to what do B2B businesses need to consider in order to form a more direct-to-consumer focused strategy?
Thanks, Steve. So direct-to-consumer has been the big e-commerce story of the last year, with some forward-thinking brands riding the wave of the success it brings, including Bloom & Wild, Brewdog, and Beauty Pie, to name three. Circumventing wholesalers and retailers to sell straight to the end consumer means D2C brands have greater control over their brand, marketing and sales, and greater insight into their customers' behavior. So we're going to walk you through some of the key areas that we think is important for you to concentrate on, starting with building a business case beyond direct revenue. So securing stakeholder buy-in for D2C can be difficult if the opportunity and advantages aren't clearly communicated. To be successful, you should assess D2C as an opportunity that goes beyond just new revenue generation. Think about where your direct opportunities exist, how you can use data to optimize for the long term, and how you will make it scalable. All these points play a key role in defining the size and scope that D2C can deliver.
Yeah, it's also about getting to know your market. So researching, identifying and understanding your customers. So things like, why do they buy your products or services? Is it down to quality? Is it service that they like? Is it cost? Is it the brand story? Or is it sustainability or other reasons that we mentioned earlier? So do you get this information from your distributors or stockists at the moment? Would customers be interested in knowing about all your products rather than just a few that are sold through the retailers? Would they be interested in loyalty, subscriptions even, and more? So these are things that only you as the manufacturer or brand could potentially offer them. So it's about building that trust through accountability and openness with those customers. And if you deliver that, the chances are they'll be loyal. So what are the customer lifetime value opportunities as well of having that relationship directly with the customer?
And you need to take what you've learned from your market research and then expand upon it. Ask yourself why your brand exists and why it began. What do you offer that the competition doesn't? You cannot simply create a D2C channel and expect your customers to come to you. Think about how you will drive traffic to your website over your competitors and third-party sites such as Amazon. It's important to establish your brand as a D2C offering, letting your audience know the benefits that buying directly can bring.
Yeah, look at your customer-centric strategy as well. So this year more than ever, we feel that customers expect more of an intimate experience from the brands that they're buying from. They do expect that personalized shopping experience. They expect you to know what they like. You should look at providing a frictionless customer journey. So that's from awareness of the product and services through to purchase and beyond the purchase. So that could include things like them expecting to see reviews of your products or your services, potentially recommended products as well. So understanding the products that they may like and offering those. It's also looking at the options for returns. So with a more direct to consumer audience, they will want to know how they return a product if it's faulty. Also delivery options as well. It's quite commonly known that customers expect a next day delivery on a lot of products. So these are things you need to think about when considering a more D2C focused approach.
And you've got to choose the right technology platform. Supporting D2C with a scalable technology stack is critical. A consolidated tech stack enables lower implementation and maintenance costs and faster integrations with other systems. You should create a strategy that recognizes the full potential of what an ideal D2C model has to offer. Then you can select platforms and technology that can scale and integrate across your business. Your e-commerce website will be at the heart of this technology consideration. And so choosing suitable candidates such as Adobe Commerce, formerly Magento, which is built for this purpose, is important for any future growth.
Yeah, and we touched on this earlier, going back to that kind of personalized shopping experience. So to try and be successful, have a look at the customer data, starting with first-party data that you've captured directly from customers that you own. You can then use this to drive that personalized customer experience. One approach to that could be AI-powered recommendations based on customers' interests and website behavior. Could be collecting and using customer data wisely, which can help make up for a lack of in-person contact, common for many brands. So using data you can collect about your customers, you can start to build that one-to-one relationship at every touch point through the customer journey, pre and post purchase, which is something traditionally you might not be able to offer through your distributors or your stockists. So from personalized offers, recommendations, special discounts, to simply using first name personalization, all of these things will contribute to an increase in sales success and conversion and customer retention.
We're also seeing many successful D2C brands are investing in rolling out a customer loyalty program, building loyalty through value-added interactions across multiple channels. You should analyze your data closely, consider who buys from you multiple times, who only buys once, who engages on social media platforms, and a host of other metrics. From here, you can work out the value of each customer segment to your business and build your strategy around the incentives required to retain these customers. Proven strategies include earned points, membership programs, cashback, and special discounts. You can also use rewards to lure in new customers.
Yep, think about implementing a subscription model. Subscription model services are potentially a win for both the customer and the retailer where it's relevant. So in this case, the customers can expect the goods that they want to be delivered, but in regular, predictable intervals. So equally, by prioritizing subscription and membership packages, you're trying to invest in that long-term, steady relationship with your customers. The subscription model offers something that customers desire. So whether it's value for money, it's convenience, and also potentially offering exclusive benefits like free delivery, discounts, and loyalty points. And we think that this trend will continue to grow as merchants search for ways to strengthen customer relationships and encouraging those recurring purchases and a steady revenue stream. Just look at Harry's Shaving Company. They're a great example of the subscription model and the success that they've seen. And interestingly, they've gone from purebred e-commerce into store, which is a really interesting case study of that subscription model.
And finally, you need to just remember that a journey into D2C does not mean cutting out the middleman. More so, it's about creating a competitive D2C channel that requires you to balance existing relationships with third parties alongside their own channels. These two business models should work to support each other rather than be competitive, which can risk relationships that often serve as a primary source of revenue. Okay, Steve, let's now cover one of our recent D2C success stories, Puretech.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So Puretech Fitness is one of our clients. They're part of a larger US strength brand who've got decades of experience selling wholesale in the US. And in the early 2000s, they moved into the UK. And their business model was to primarily sell to distributors, who then in turn were selling to regional wholesalers, who then themselves sold to the retailers, who obviously went to the end customer. So the idea there was to give those retailers more buying power. But then what Puretech began to see was a few cracks beginning to appear. And that included fewer retail stores over time. So in 2008, the recession hit, and that put many of their retail customers out of business. In the northeast of England, for example, the number of retailers they sold to actually shrank from 180 to 100 by the end of 2008. And that actually dropped even more considerably to just 20 by 2012. So quite worrying for them. Then the retailers themselves also started forming connections with the brand's own factories in China with a view to creating their own product ranges. This in turn led to the factories starting to tout for more business directly from the retailers themselves. So both Puretech's customers and suppliers were trying to cut them out of the equation. The retailers had actually had Puretech hold the stock. They had them create the product information and they had them operate as a direct dispatch to suppliers. But actually, this turned out to be a silver lining for Puretech because it meant multiple areas of the business were already set up to deliver directly to the customer, i.e. D2C. So with that in mind, Puretech saw the opportunity to sell directly to the customer, but to fully take advantage of that opportunity, they needed a storefront, they needed a shop front. So they needed a website that stood out and offered customers more than just the ability to buy just an exercise bike, for example. So what we saw in terms of the results were once we built the website for them, which married rich, engaging exercise-related content to help people understand more about how they can exercise and keep fit, with the ability to also purchase their products. So going D2C, in effect, in the first 12 months delivered Puretech over £1 million worth of sales, which is not bad for a standing start. And the website now is the single largest sales channel for them. And we're predicting year 2 to be a good year for them, to surpass over 2 million. And we think it could have been more than that if it hadn't been for stock availability, which everybody's quite aware of at the moment. So having their own D2C channel has put Puretech back in control of the future of their business, which is so important. They now control the customer lifetime experience pre and post purchase, which allows them to nurture a more personal relationship with their customers. So how do we put customers at the heart of our plans?
Well, you've touched upon it there, Steve, really. It's all about owning that customer relationship. Your major advantage really is getting closer to your customers. And this allows you to establish a personal and therefore sustainable customer relationship and to create increased customer loyalty in the long run. The See, Think, Do, Care model is a clear and simple way to think of your different customer groups, identify their needs, and consider them throughout the project and beyond. To build the model for your business, start with what you already know about your customers. Ask your sales team for product sales data and information received from your wholesale customers. If you have some customer data, then you can run customer surveys or focus groups. It's also useful to study what your competitors are doing and how they're selling similar products. Not only does the SDDC model enable you to start understanding the customer, it also highlights areas you need to take into account in building your e-commerce site: the customer service systems, your social media profiles, and other marketing channels.
Yeah, so let's look more into the stages of See, Think, Do, Care and what they actually mean. It's kind of broken down into 4 phases, really, and it kind of does reflect the purchase funnel. So the C phase is the top of the funnel. So that's the largest addressable qualified audience. So these are people who may have a need for your products or services, but they might not be in a buying phase at this point, but they are interested in what you have to offer when the time comes. So then we move into the Think phase. So this is the same addressable audience, but this time they have some commercial intent. So these are people who have a need for your products, but they're now in a position to research and have some motivation to purchase. So they're ready to do that research piece. Then we have the Do phase. So that's that audience who are moving into a position where there's a lot of commercial intent. So they're moving into that position to buy. So they could have, nailed it down to a couple of different options, and then they make that final decision as to which is the best choice. And then they will obviously make that purchase. What you're trying to do there is break down the barriers for them to make that purchase, and that they will choose you over your competitors. Then we move into that final phase, which is the Care phase. So that's that kind of customer lifetime value phase. These are your loyal customers. These are the customers who have made at least 2 commercial transactions with you. So you know they've had a good experience with you, otherwise they won't come back, would they? They've engaged and converted with your brand. And that puts you in a really good position to really drive that kind of engagement and that loyalty further. So those are the kind of 4 key phases that you can break down how a customer will research your product, be aware of your product, consider your product, shortlist your products, and then buy your products and become a loyal customer. So those are kind of the key phases that we would recommend. So that kind of moves us into really looking at sort of what kind of questions that you need to ask yourselves when thinking about taking the next steps into kind of a more focused D2C strategy. So almost like a checklist, as you will.
Wonderful. So we've got 5 5 things to cover with you before we wrap this one up. Firstly, you need to think about your relationship with retailers, distributors, and wholesalers. A journey to D2C isn't going to happen overnight. How will you attract, convert, and retain customers directly and own the relationship with them? Do you have a marketing plan framework in place, such as the one that Steve just covered, to deliver that customer experience? Is your team suitably structured and skilled to deliver this new customer experience and service? And then finally, do you have the right systems infrastructure in place to deliver the customer experience, which includes the website, payment methods, warehouse delivery, and customer service? So I just want to wrap up by saying going D2C is one of the biggest changes you can make to your business. It isn't as simple as creating a website, but with the right considerations, it can open your brand up to limitless opportunities. Remember, your D2C offering doesn't have to be a replacement for your existing retail partners. Instead, it can be an opportunity to diversify your channels, which could become a major part of your growth strategy.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And I suppose just to finally kind of wrap up the session, I suppose what we're going to leave you with, if you are looking for any more advice, or you are thinking about taking the first initial steps into a more kind of direct consumer approach, then of course we're more than happy to have that chat with you and relay similar experiences that we've had with other businesses such as Puretech that we've discussed with you earlier. Good. So I think that's it from the two of us. Thank you very much for staying with us throughout the session, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, everyone.